What's up, Sean? What you got for us?
Greetings, Edgewenka. Greetings, viewers. Let's look at the Terence B International Airport, where a new electronic ticketing system is now fully operational. And managing director of airports, Denison Fraser, says the new system will help to maintain order, security, while improving safety for local and international customers, especially at the pickup and drop-off sites. Now, one concern we have, however, is that as it relates to security at the airport, there seems to be no police presence at the airport these days. And we are asking the question whether or not there is, in fact, a decision by the Royal Virgin Islands Police Force to cancel police presence at the airport. Of course, it's a major point for arrival and departing the territory, and you ought to have security officers at that site. And this issue became even more apparent on September 18th when we had a brawl at the airport. Apparently, based on my own investigations, there was an incident between a LIAT officer and a customer. And what happened is the customer missed her flight, and the LIAT worker was trying to assist that customer in getting onto another flight the following day. Apparently, the worker had already left her workstation, so she was basically trying to render some assistance, and the situation got out of control. There was some exchange of words and exchange of hands as well, and eventually someone ended up at the hospital. Now we're hearing from the police that no one has been charged and that they're investigating the matter. LIAT has since issued a release saying they have suspended that worker pending further investigations and they're looking into it and so forth. But many people who are at the site have informed JTV News. They've said to me personally, the police had to come from East End to address the situation, to bring calm to the airport. And basically the question is, what would have happened if the police was actually at the site? If you had police presence at the airport, would that situation occur? Would it have occurred? Or will it occur again in the near future by virtue of the fact that you don't have a police presence to, really control people's behavior when they may try to get out of control?
Well, there are two things I want to talk about in that regard, Sean. The ticketing system, you said, that's been implemented.
Yes, fully operational.
Operational. And what is that ticketing system?
It's meant to control the influx of traffic. You may or may not be aware that many persons would enter the airport area, and in some cases, standing would turn into a prolonged parking period. Some folks will pull up in the area where the taxis also gather or park to pick up passengers, in some cases to drop off passengers, and it creates some congestion in that area, especially for the taxi operators and so forth. And I know police have been there on numerous occasions, bringing control to the situation and causing people to go either into the parking lot or to move out of the airport area entirely.
I'm not sure how that works in that regard. I know what it does is it costs you extra money.
Well, the airport, there's revenue for the airport.
And the other thing is I think it needs to have proper signage, because I had when persons who don't know the situation there,
right.
When you drive in, you get a ticket.
Right.
And the thought, it comes to mind that when you're going out, you will give the ticket to the attendant, and then you'll pay there.
Yes.
And that has happened to me on one occasion.
Since the new system was installed.
Yes. I pick up a ticket thinking that I'm going to pay when I go out. And when I go out, then they ask me to push in the ticket
right.
Into the slot. That's not the correct ticket, because I should have paid at a machine.
Or at the airport itself.
At the terminal.
Yes, at the
before
terminal. That's right.
Before I got to the exit.
That's right.
And there's no sign that give you an indication on how that's supposed to work. So I had to drive all the way back around and come in and pay in the machine, and then go back out again with the correct ticket.
Right.
So there's some proper signage that needs to be in place in that particular area.
Well, on that matter,
I don't see how that adds to
improves security.
I don't see how that improves security.
So maybe it adds to the confusion at the airport.
So, but another point about security, though.
Yes.
I thought that the airport had private security managing the situation at the airport, and certainly I'm disappointed to hear.
Well, sources who have revealed this situation to us, they have said that security can go so far and no further. The police presence they are suggesting is much more authoritative and would bring results in situations when you have conflict, especially. Basically, they're saying the security is pretty much there just to establish the fact that there is security, but when you need to really ensure that people
if the security
control their behavior, then you need the police.
If there's security,
yes,
and there's misbehavior, certainly the security ought to be able to manage the misbehavior.
That's right.
Yeah, I mean, once there's security there, you don't need the police to deal with that,
yes,
unless there is a law that has been broken or an assault taking place, and then you need an arrest to be made.
Except that,
and certainly the security officers will be able to hold those persons who are guilty
and to restrain them and so forth. That's right.
Until the police is there.
Well,
so
that didn't happen. Two ladies got in that brawl.
I don't understand that.
The security couldn't do anything. Maybe they're just cosmetic security. I don't know.
But certainly at a major port of entrance,
yes,
as the airport
and departure,
entrance and departure as the airport, where some of the most important people coming to the territory comes through there. Our tourists, those are some very important people. That's where the money come in their pocket. And certainly we need to have a greater measure of security to make sure that they're protected.
Yes.
And the other point about the customer service representative.
Oh, well, yes.
I don't think at any time.
More woes, more at woes.
At any time,
yes,
at no time, should a customer representative get into any altercation with a customer.
I don't want to get into, I don't want to make, and that's a good point you're making, but what we don't know is exactly who landed the first blow and if she could have restrained herself from responding and so forth, and that's unfortunate. But the challenge here, though.
Well, you have to learn to restrain yourself.
That's right.
Even if someone hits you first, you have to back away.
Even after you went outside and went back inside to assist the person.
You have to back
so
away.
I can understand. I'm not so sure how many people can really put up with that, though. But evidently, the fact that the police presence is limited, yes, they have these new special vehicles now with mobile workstation and so forth, and they're saying that these new vehicles should allow the officers to be on the street more, and hopefully the public will see them more, they'll be more visible. We are hoping that these vehicles can actually help the police force, generally speaking, to be more efficient in the administration or the carrying out of their duties. But we are really asking if there has been a decision, because of the fact that there is security now at the airport, to remove police presence from the Terence B. Lettsome Airport.
Well, if there's security, if there's adequate security,
then no need to have the
then
police
no need
there.
to have the police there.
Because you need more police already. You have a shortage.
But certainly, if the security is inadequate, it needs to be beefed up. And if there's a need for police officers, then we need to have them because, as I said, that's one of the most important points of entry and exit in the territory. As far as the police vehicles, did you get an indication of the capacity of the police vehicles?
I can say, well, those of us who've seen them in other parts of the world, we know that they are state-of-the-art vehicles. I can tell you that they are equipped with built-in safety barriers, partitions, and doors for suitable containment of prisoners or anyone who the police would choose to arrest for violating the laws, of course. And they're saying as well that the ability to retrieve and import information allows the police officers to build their database while on the street, so that they don't have to go back into the office, go back into the headquarters, and I suspect type in their reports and so forth. By the time they get into the respective offices, they'll have their data available. I'm not sure, maybe on their computer, maybe there is a system set up for that. But basically they're saying that the data system allows officers to obtain and file reports while they're on the road, and that certainly should improve their efficiency.
But it would be interesting to know whether they're going to be capable of finding out about other laws that have been broken by any particular driver.
Yes.
You know, like in other in other places
Right,
in the
you can
world,
type in the
you could type in the
license
license
plates
plate
and know,
number, and you could know the
yes, I
traffic
haven't paid my
violation,
license, etc.
if there's a warrant out for this person's
Yes, yes,
arrest,
yes.
and that type of capacity. And certainly be interested to know if this new equipment is going to allow our officers, our law enforcement officers, to be able to engage in that kind of activity.
Especially in a small community.
Yeah, and of course, one of the things that need to happen, I think, here in the territory is that our ticketing system need to be tied, as it is in other places, to the licensing of our motor vehicles.
Yes.
I know in New York City, I'll go down to the motor vehicle, the license, and find that I got 2 or 3 tickets, and I
Right.
can't register my vehicle.
Because you're violating the traffic.
I hadn't paid my parking.
Ordinance,
I hadn't
yes.
paid my parking tickets.
Right.
So you can't license your vehicle if you
right.
hadn't paid your parking tickets. You know, and if you got an infraction on your license, it shows up. You know, so if I mean, anything that you do in New York, for example, if you're going to buy a house and you haven't
Yes.
paid your parking tickets, at that point you have to pay your parking tickets.
Because I'm advised that
So-
we will be surprised to know the number of drivers who are driving without license, by the way.
Absolutely.
And now another matter that is not a laughing one as it relates to the police is the recent upsurge in burglaries. The police, they are reporting that there has been a recent upsurge in burglaries. And we are of the opinion, and other media practitioners, that the police, they are too tight-lipped with information these days. In fact, it has been over a year since the police has held a press conference. It's difficult to get questions from the police. And they ought to recognize that information sharing builds, apart from, of course, improving accountability, it builds trust. And you are asking the public, as it relates to the upsurge in burglaries, to cooperate. And of course, it's in the best interest of all of us in the public domain to make sure that our properties are protected and so forth. But at the same time, I think there is room for improved communication between the police and the public via the media.
Yes, and I agree with you. But information, I think, has to be managed correctly and,
Yeah, not operational stuff, you know.
and accurately.
Yes.
One of the things that I think we as media persons need to pay close attention to is the impact that we potentially have or may have on our economy based on what we report. Not that we should be censored or censor ourselves,
Yes.
but that we should be mindful that the whole economy hinges on a lot of things that we say in the
Yeah,
media.
gatekeeping has a role in journalism.
And as a journalist,
A major role, in fact.
as a journalist, if we don't get tourists into the BVI, there will be no advertisements to pay you, Sean Rose, for your work.
And on the flip side, if you have an upsurge in burglaries and you're keeping it quiet, then you're really setting people up as sitting ducks, and they won't know what's going on. They wouldn't make informed decisions. So that's the whole idea.
So there's got to be a balance.
Yes,
There's got to be a balance. There's got to be accurate reporting,
That's right.
and there's got to be some responsibility that we take upon ourselves,
Yes.
and responsibility and ethical behavior that we take upon ourselves in order to protect our environment, protect the visitors,
Yes.
and to make sure that we safeguard our economy.
Trust. You got to build trust
gotta
between
build
all
trust.
these stakeholders. It's
Yeah.
just important, you know.
Interesting. That's an interesting discussion. The balance.
And mind you, while we're on trust and while you give me my
Your time
parting
is up,
orders,
yeah.
I want to say that the police, they haven't said anything about the fact that they have cancelled anything since. They said they have cancelled their promotion exam. They had some issues there, and we haven't heard much from them. But hopefully, Mr. Robin Smith, who is the incoming commissioner, who should be taking up office in November, might be the one to say, let's have these exams and get the officers promoted.
And let's have
Deserved
more meaningful dialogue between the community
Yes,
and the police
yes,
officers. Sean, again, great job. Thank you very much for those reports.
You're welcome.
And we look forward to more again next week, of course.